Meeting to order. I'll call the meeting to order. Um, I'm not sure how to do the Pledge of Allegiance here. Chief, I'm gonna let you figure that out.
Okay, we will all imagine that we are looking at the flag in the conference room.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag,
flag.
United
To the
States of
United
States
States
of
of
America,
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 and
and
to
to
the
the
republic,
republic for which it
it
stands,
stands
one
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 nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
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 with
with
with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Okay, Miranda, could you take roll call, please?
Sure. I don't have it in front of me, but I can do it. Sandra Smith,
Present.
Scott Dorman,
Present.
John Smith,
Here.
Jeff Robbins,
Here.
and Ryan Leahy.
Here.
Okay. Have all of you had an opportunity to look at the agenda for today's board meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
And do any of you have any comments, concerns, questions, changes to the agenda?
Nope.
Nope.
I like what the chief did with that whole document he prepared.
Which one?
With the roles and responsibilities and all
Oh,
that.
yes. Okay.
That was great.
All right. So could I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to.
I'll second that.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Ryan.
Ryan. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. And the motion carried. Okay, public comment. Do we have any members of the public present at the meeting? It looks like we might have a few. Does anybody have any comment to make? Any members of the public wish to make a comment? Okay, so being no comment from members of the public, I'll move on to item 6. We're going to approve the minutes of the last meeting at our next one. So we will be approving minutes from the last meeting and from this special meeting at our next meeting. I've been literally out of the country since our last meeting. And so those minutes have yet to be prepared, those being the ones from the last meeting. Turning to item number 7, then the first 7A, discussion action re-administrative assessment and structure of administrative division. And I will open it for discussion on that issue right now.
Okay, would you like me to walk the board through the staff report and then each one of the decision items?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is hopefully the outgrowth of the whole project of restructuring our administrative services, our administrative and business services project. There are 4 items that I'm going to ask for approval this afternoon, and they are items 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D. There is on 7A, there is a staff report, and I'm going to walk through that real quickly and then go through each one of the action items, which are each a request. So if anybody has questions at any time, let me know. I see Hippie's in his truck. Miranda, can you, while I'm kind of watching what I'm talking about here, can you watch for if questions come up or hands are raised or anything like that?
Yes, I'm doing my best to do that.
Okay, good. All right. We'll go right to the staff report. At their last meeting on the 19th, you authorized me to proceed with the organization of our administrative and business services based on the administrative assessment that was conducted in 2025. And then there are the 4 specific items that I'll talk about here in the next couple of minutes. there is the background of how we got to kind of where we are today. And we've been through this before. I think it's important to note that as I developed these 4 items, I did consult with the other 2 special districts, the executive directors of the other 2 special districts, as well as the police chief, who has similar situation over there in the police department, as well as our CPS HR consultant. So I did do the background work with those folks that kind of informed where we are. So the first action that I'm asking is that we create 2 new administrative and business services positions from the 2 that we had previously. One would be called the executive assistant to the fire chief, and the other one administrative specialist. The executive assistant to the fire chief would focus primarily on our business services and board support, and the administrative specialist will focus primarily on our administrative support for our operations and training division, as well as some more administrative services of the district. This proposal follows pretty closely, not exactly, the staffing scenario 1 in the CRS report. It creates these 2 positions. Both report directly to me as the fire chief. Neither one of them would be a non-exempt position, or both will be a non-exempt position. They would not be exempt management positions. Oh, okay. Get a little feedback here. Is that one coming off yours? Okay. The executive assistant to the fire chief would be a little bit higher in responsibility because there is board support, finance, and human resource functions in cooperation with contractors. Neither would supervise the other, although in the job descriptions that we'll talk about here in a couple of minutes, there is some crossover between the positions and some cross training. It's not specifically called out in the proposal, but we've talked about allowing us to do from time to time do some part-time positions within admin for some special projects and such. So that is the first request, is to reorganize, recreate our administrative services group. We won't have a freestanding administrative unit like we had before, with one position in charge of the other. Both would report to me. So the requested action that I have is to approve replacing the current administrative positions of administrative assistant and chief of staff with administrative specialist and executive assistant to the fire chief. Both 3 positions reporting to the fire chief. So that's the first action item that I have for request.
All right, I will open it for discussion to the other board.
I think we went over this, pretty well at the last meeting. We knew that this was the direction we wanted to go, and I think the chief did a, great job of laying out what he's going to do with these 2 positions and what they're responsible for. I don't really have anything to add to it or any questions about it. He was pretty thorough in laying the whole thing out.
And I would agree with Jeff on that. I think that these are 2 positions that are essential and appropriate the way that they are laid out.
One of the questions how does Miranda fit into this? Does she take one of these positions? Will she have her own position? What's the?
That'll get to item 7D.
Okay.
On 7D, I'm going to ask you to allow me to make a decision on whether we do internal, external on one or both of these. And the first one will be talking to Miranda to find which one she would like to be, which one she's most interested in.
But I guess just to clarify again on what he said, Miranda gets one of these positions.
She will have first. I will talk to her and see which one she would like, and we'll do an internal process on the one that she's interested in to see whether there's anybody else interested internally or not.
Okay. I guess I feel like she already has
Just go.
whichever position she wants.
I don't think you need to have to go.
And that we were just trying to get one more position to assist, not assist her, but I mean, renaming it, she is already hired as whichever position she takes. And I guess, I mean, if she says, I don't want either one, then yeah, I guess that opens it up. But if she wants one, I don't see where we put that up for a process. I feel like she's already been hired to do it.
Yeah, I've already had some discussion with our attorney about that, and we do have to go through a little bit of a process on it.
Okay.
And is it acceptable to go through only an internal process? As I understand from the attorney, it is.
Yes, we just have to make a determination. Right now, our policy, and this is going to be 7D, which you'll get to in here in a few minutes. Our policy right now is external and internal. And I'm going to ask you to waive that and allow me to decide which one of those positions goes which way, depending on which one Miranda wants. But we still do have to do an internal process.
So then if we just do an internal process for hers, we can then go ahead and do an internal and external process for the other.
Kind of, that's my thought, yes.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other discussion? Anyone else want to discuss this further on item 7A? Let's see here. So let me just find 7A here in my board book. My computer is being very slow, sorry. So as I understand it, you want us, Chief, to you want someone to make a motion to allow replacing the current administrative positions of chief of staff, and what's the second one?
Administrative assistant.
And administrative assistant, that replace those two positions with the positions of executive assistant to the fire chief and administrative specialist. So we would be creating two new positions and decertifying or
Right.
The other two would go away.
Yeah, and that'll be 7B.
Okay. All right. So can I have a motion, please, to approve the chief's request to replace the current administrative positions of administrative assistant and chief of staff with the two positions of executive assistant to the fire chief and administrative specialist, both of which would report directly
I'll
to
make that motion.
A second.
Okay, who made the motion?
Ryan,
And who made the second?
Hippie.
Who?
Got
Scott? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, let's move on to item B.
Okay, 7B. These are the actual two job descriptions. Right now, within our job descriptions in section 700 of our policies, we have 3 administrative positions. This would request here to delete those 3 and replace them with 2 new ones. One would be policy 704, administrative specialist, and then policy 705, executive assistant to the fire chief. In your packet is the in the actual staff report are the 2 paragraphs for both those positions, and then attached to the document itself further on are the actual job descriptions themselves.
Okay, have all of you had an opportunity to review those materials?
Yes.
yes.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of them? Any changes, suggestions, revisions, anything?
No.
The only comment I have is I was wondering if, does Miranda meet the job descriptions as they're written? Any of both of those?
My understanding is yes.
Okay.
She meets both of them?
I believe so. She has a bachelor's degree in business.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go through her qualifications, but I just wanted to make sure that she met the job description as they're represented.
Okay. Any further discussion on item 7B?
I would like to add in there, I thought that we were going to change it to where some of these job description or job qualifications, would not be a mandatory thing, but something that they could work towards. Because if you have someone that worked in one of these positions ever since they got out of high school, they would be very good at doing it, but would not meet our qualifications. And I kind of disagree with that.
We did discuss that with regard to the training.
I thought we were going to do that in all positions, though. I mean,
I think it's a good idea, but that conversation was in regard to the training chief or with that position. I forget what it was called at the moment.
If I could comment on that, Hippie, I did look at that. However, I'm not sure that concept really fits very well with these administrative jobs. I think it fits real well with some of our other positions, but not so much with this one. For instance, the administrative specialist job description really is relatively, doesn't have a huge amount of specific minimum requirements. Proficient in Microsoft Office Suite, those kinds of things. I think those are kind of things we'd like to have people kind of come in the door with.
okay, I'm just saying the schooling part of it really bothers me because, well, I'll just be straightforward with you. My office manager that runs all of my business, she has help under her, but she has no further schooling, and she does a spectacular job of it.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. In both the job descriptions and the the minimum requirements do have that phrase of equivalent combination of experience and education and training.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Equivalent. All right.
So I just want to make sure that I saw that correctly. So have we left open the possibility that someone without a particular educational degree can still meet the requirements? We could still hire them just because they don't have a bachelor's degree in X, Y, or Z.
Right, and bachelor's degree is not required for either one of these.
It is minimum of 10 years of administrative experience, though. How do we work around that if it's a requirement?
Well, there's also, it does, equivalent combinations of education and experience will be considered.
I guess I didn't see that. Where's that at?
Under education, this is under the executive assistant of the fire chief.
Yeah.
The fourth point, equivalent combinations of education and experience will be considered.
Okay. So that trumps the minimum requirement then?
It could, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. I don't think we're in a position with either one of these positions that we can bring in somebody with absolutely no experience whatsoever.
I agree with that. This is a pretty senior paying position. We don't want to we want to get somebody that's, been out there and has demonstrated, that they know what they're doing and are, hands-on and can get this job done.
I agree with that. If they're coming from, but if they're coming from a different line of work and they have administrative experience, it's going to be different than the fire department. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because somebody might be the best office manager in the world. Well, for instance, if my office manager came in and wanted this job, she has zero in the fire department. And it will be different. I mean, there's a lot of things on like computer stuff and stuff like that that's kind of the same, but we are going to have to train somebody unless we hire somebody that's in the fire industry.
Well, and when I read through these minimum requirements, everything except the 10 years is pretty much about perspective. So that's at the chief's discretion. When you look at like must be detail oriented, willingness and ability to serve the public,
Right.
like those are the chief's gonna be able to look at those and say, yeah, they meet that requirement. The 10 years about the only one that has a hard, and he's got escape, he's got the equivalent in the education. So he kind of gives himself an out on that as well. So I don't
Right.
see anything too stringent on it.
No, I think I like it. So
Okay, so can you, Chief, can you tell me what the numbers are again on the new, job
The
description?
new policy will be 704 administrative specialist and policy 705 executive assistant to the fire chief. And you have to delete the existing ones that are in there in the section 700.
Okay, so we'll delete 704 and 705 as they currently exist and replace them with the ones in our board book, correct?
There's actually three of them. You need to delete all three of the administrative job descriptions in 700.
And which numbers are the three we're deleting?
You're asking me, I gotta look at it.
Action required.
704, 705, and 707.
I don't know those off the top of my head. I think it's 706 is the other one.
it's 07. It says it right there on the screen that's being shared. 704, 705, and 707.
Oh, there it is right there. Yep. You
There
got
it is. Okay, thank you.
Aren't you driving?
Yeah.
I'm driving,
Sorry.
he's driving. I'm supposed to be driving the meeting and he's doing a better job of it. than
There it
me.
is right there.
All right, so let's maybe first say have a motion to discontinue the existing policies number 704, 705, and 707.
I will make a motion
Move to delete all administrative job descriptions, existing 704, 705, and 707.
and I will second that.
Okay, Hippie seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, let's turn now to item.
Excuse me, just a point of order on that. Did you adopt the new
No,
704?
we're gonna do that right now. We're gonna
Okay.
do that right now. I was
Got it.
gonna call it 7C, but it's not. It's still part of 7B. All right, so now I need a motion to approve the new policies 704, which is a job description for administrative specialist, and policy 705, which is a new job description for executive assistant to the fire chief.
I will move to adopt policy 704 administrative specialist and policy 705 executive assistant to the fire chief.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried. Okay, now to item 7C, which is discussion action rate administrative pay scale.
Okay, this one here is we have a policy 180 right now that's included in your packet. And there are actually 5 pay grades in our administrative job descriptions now. I'm asking you to delete the one that's in there and adopt a new one. And basically what we would be using is we'd be using the existing pay grades of what's called Specialist 1 and Specialist 2, and now call them Administrative Specialist, which used to be Specialist 1, and Executive Assistant to the Fire Chief, which used to be Specialist 2. The reason that we use those two is because they were already in our pay system, and we really didn't want to, go through the brain damage of establishing, all new pay grades. We already had them in the system. Both of them are just the specialist. One is a little bit above the administrative assistant. That is Miranda's formal job description right now. And the executive assistant to the fire chief would be the next step in the current system now of specialist 2. It would do away certainly with the assistant 1, the assistant 2, and manager. And those numbers are directly in our pay plan right now. I would also point out that if we go with this system and we use the step 1s to start for each one of these positions, the total cost and salary for a year would be $157,497, which is significantly less than the $210,604 that we have budgeted right now for the old administrative assistant 2 and chief of staff.
So, depending on which position Miranda takes, what does that do with her? I mean, does her pay go up?
Yes, in either case, her pay would go up.
Okay.
A small amount administrative specialist and a more significant amount on executive assistant to the fire chief.
And she still has opportunity for growth in either one.
Exactly, because whoever starts out, we'd be starting out at step 1.
Oh, both positions will be a step 1 start. Okay.
Any discussion on this issue? I have a question. I just want to make sure that other than with respect to those 2 positions, we're not changing anything otherwise in policy 180. It's just we're just adding these 2. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, so just deleting the administrative table where it says administration and it's got the position and then assistant 1, assistant 2, specialist 1, specialist 2, and manager. Just
Yes.
replacing that table with the new table with just administrative specialist and executive assistant to the fire chief.
All right, did you all track with that? If you look at policy 180 as it currently exists, it has a list of the step 1 through step 5 for all of the various positions in each of the various divisions as they currently exist: operations and training, support services and prevention, administration, and leadership. And then what we would be doing is taking basically the table away we would delete the existing table under administration in policy 180 and replace it with the one that is in the chief summary, which sets out the 5 steps for administrative specialist and executive assistant to the fire chief. Did you all track with that?
I'll make a motion to amend policy 180 and delete current 5 salary ranges for an administrative and replace them with proposed ranges of administrative specialist and executive assistant fire chief.
I'll second that.
Do we have any further discussion on this issue before we vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried.
Okay, that gives us a 7D, which is the last one, which is a request to waive the requirement for internal recruitment in policy 202 and allow me to determine the use of internal only or external requirement or recruitment, kind of based on the discussion we've already had.
So your request, as I understand it, Chief, is that you would like to you would like to find out first from Miranda which of the 2 positions she would be interested in taking. You will then open that up to others only internally and not externally. So you're seeking permission to do that depending upon what you learn from Miranda. That you will then, once you have made that determination and done the follow-up work on that, open up the other position, whichever one she does not express an interest in, to both internal and external recruitment. Is that correct?
I'm asking you to let me make that determination. I'm guessing 90% that probably be internal, external. But I'm not quite there yet.
I would like to see it done to where Miranda has her choice of which one, and that position can be done internally. But the other position, I would like to see it done both internally and externally.
I would prefer to only authorize one position to be internal as well.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that whatever position Miranda doesn't want, we open it up more broadly on the second one. So I think what that means, Chief, is that we would not vote, depending on, I mean, obviously other people may have something to say here. If that's what our consensus is, after all of our discussion, then policy 202 would not be waived for purposes of the second position being whatever the one is that Miranda doesn't choose. Obviously, if Miranda does not choose either position and she decides to go to Costa Rica for 18 months and say bye to the rest of us for a while, then we would want you to open both of those positions up, both internally and externally. So I think our waiver, what I'm hearing is our waiver would be limited only to a circumstance under which Miranda has expressed an interest in one of the positions. Am I correct, other board members?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's correct.
Okay, so then the motion that I'd like to hear then is a motion to waive the requirement of policy 202 that requires external recruitment as well as internal recruitment, only to the extent that Miranda is interested in one of the two positions we have just created, and only with respect to that specific position that she has expressed an interest in.
I'll move just what you said.
May I have a second to that motion, please?
I'll second that.
Yippee. Okay, and all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried. Just one quick sec. Hippie, you made that motion, right?
Jeff made the motion. I seconded.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then moving on to item 7E. This is discussions slash action regarding Estes Valley Fire Protection District Resolution number 2026-03, a resolution appointing an interim chief and approving an employment agreement. Have all of you had an opportunity to review resolution 2026-03?
Yes.
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 Does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments concerning the resolution?
My only question is, does that work for you, Chief? Does that solve all your issues?
Yeah,
And that gets you in the truck?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay. I'd like to see that truck driving around, so.
All right, any other questions or comments or issues of discussion to be raised by any board member? All right, then may I have a motion, please, to approve or adopt, rather, Estes Valley Fire Protection District Resolution number 2026-03, a resolution appointing an interim chief and approving an employment agreement.
I'll motion to approve resolution 2026-03.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Was that Scott?
As Scott.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried.
Sandy, I have a couple comments on this item, if you'd let me.
Which item are we?
On the contract. I know you've already approved it, but I got a couple things I want to mention.
Okay.
Okay. You know, I'm really looking forward to being with you for, you know, the rest of this year, you know, plus or minus a month or two, depending on when we get a new chief in. I do have, I think I do have something I want to talk to you about, though, that's related to this. You know, we're 3 months into our relationship and we're doing a lot of stuff. And, you know, as I look back over the last, you know, 3 months and 3 months and 6 months and a year that has kind of preceded that, I look at our situation is a lot like a natural disaster where something happens or a succession of things happen. and then you go into response mode. And after response mode, you kind of go into recovery. And we're coming out of that response mode now of just kind of keep our heads above water. And a lot of things we're doing now. We just took a big step last month with allowing us to go ahead and fill that operations and training chief on a permanent basis. Took another big step in recovery now, and allowing us to move forward with rebuilding our administrative services. So we're making progress with that. We got several other things, in recovery that are coming down the pipe. We're going to be talking about that fire prevention position. We're going to be talking about more wildland issues. And I know Jeff and Ryan and John and I are going to meet later this week on that project. We have quite a bit of work to do on the 2026 budget that we're under now. And then we're going to, before you know it, we're going to be into the 2027 budget process. And on top of all that, we're going to be looking for a new fire chief. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. What I have a request of you all, and I'm going to have the same request of our internal organization, our volunteers, as well as our paid staff. And that is that we all think about what we have going on and what kind of stressors we have in our organization. I kind of look at it like a pressure cooker. You got to have pressure in the cooker to cook the food. But if you have too much pressure, it blows the food all over the kitchen. And I think especially as we get closer to the chief selection process and the recruitment process, we need to make sure that our organization is really in good shape and stable, and that we haven't introduced any more stress into it than we have to get our jobs done. I think some of you are aware that there's new fire chief drama down the hill here. And I'd sure hate to see us get into a situation where we're trying to recruit another fire chief and we have more stress in the organization we need. So I guess my ask to you and my ask to the rest of the organization over the next couple of months is that we think about new projects, things we want to get done. But I think we need to take a look at all of those kinds of things and balance the advantage and disadvantage to doing stuff sometimes, as well as how much that pressure cooker can hold, especially when we start trying to recruit for a fire chief. So that's just what as I look back on our relationship over the last 3 or 4 months, looking forward to the next 6 or 8 or 10 months, and how we get to where we need to go. So that's going to be my ask over the next, few months as we move forward, because it's going to get real busy here. Really, really busy. We're going to be dealing with these administrative positions. We're going to be dealing with other positions, on rebuilding. We got a lot of stuff going on. So that's just kind of where I think we are now. And that's just my ask for the remainder of my interim period. So I don't require, I'm not looking for any discussion on it. Just kind of where I'm sitting right now and looking into the future for the next several months.
So thanks, Chief. What I heard you say is that, we're doing a lot of stuff here and we're making a lot of changes. And what I'm not clear about is what you're asking of us, other than to just be mindful of that fact and to keep our, eyes and ears to the ground to watch for, any of the, pressure that, might be come about as a result of all of these changes that we're making. Is that
That's it.
Summarize what you wanted to say there?
Yeah, and I like the word mindful. I thought that was a good descriptor.
Great. Okay. Well, I can do that.
I would like to ask maybe, is there somewhere that you feel like we haven't been mindful in the past that maybe we could be a little more thoughtful of?
I think we've done a lot, in the past few months, and I think we got other stuff coming. I guess my greatest concern is new projects. We want to start something completely new, or make a major change, or do something that precipitates another change in personnel. I'm always concerned with, organizational dynamics. And as we get closer, I think as we get closer to the recruitment for a new chief, I think that becomes even more important. I mean, when I look, we've had some really good press in the last couple of months out there. But still, when you Google Estes Valley Fire Chief, some of that other stuff still comes up.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But we've had some really good press and some really good going on. And I hope when time comes to recruit a fire chief in the next, 5 or 6 months that the good stuff comes up.
Right.
So,
I want to just say one thing, that, when you were just talking, what came up for me is that, when all of us, meaning the board, came on board, the pressure and the animosity and it was palpable. It really, really was. And there was a turning point. It was at one of our meetings, and that it turned around completely. And I say the reason that it did that is because Sandy was smart enough to look out and say, okay, we need to find out what they think. And, so it was getting that feedback and allowing people to say, like either good or bad, like, what do you think? And, and really have them get that they were heard. So, that's what turned it around. And I say that, going forward, we just need to keep doing that, like ask people to, well, what do you think? What's going on with you? What do you got to say?
Jeff,
I agree. I think that, what's that?
I was going to say, I really appreciate that. Go ahead, Hippie.
I agree with all that. And like right now, all we're doing, I mean, I know we have these side items going on, but right now, the only position that we're hiring for is administrative help, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like we're stair stepping this stuff out. And I think that's going to help what you're asking. I think if we were trying to hire everybody at once, it would be a nightmare with all the other stuff we have going on, like you said. But I think I feel what you're saying.
And I think, Chief, that, excuse me, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, thank you, Jeff. And I the one thing I do think is it's super important to include people, the volunteers in particular, who work harder than any of us. Well, certainly any of us on the board, and as hard as anybody. They are, the heart and soul of this department. And I think it is incredibly important to hear what they have to say in each and every board meeting. And that, I think it's also important, not just at the beginning of a meeting, but maybe even later on in the meeting, to say, well, hey, especially on an issue of significance, to say to them, hey, what do you all think about this? Because they have a lot of valuable input. And I think it's really helped us a lot in terms of making the right kinds of decisions, or even deciding to just let things settle for a little bit and then going forward with whatever makes sense in light of what we heard. So I'd like us to continue to do that, particularly when we're dealing with sensitive or significant issues. And so I hear you, and I will definitely do that. The other thing is that I meet with the chief every week. We meet at the crack of dawn on Fridays. And Chief, so what I'm going to say to you is please communicate to me if and when you ever think that we as a board are not being mindful of something that is getting overwhelming or causing, significant stress, so that we can discuss it and we can adjust to make sure that we aren't causing that kind of stress. I think we've all gone through a pretty difficult period of time where we're having to react to certain kinds of, you're having to react to various circumstances. And some of those things required faster reactions than maybe others. but I think we're starting to settle down a little bit, and I sure hope that continues to be the case. And I know we're all working really hard, but please, 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 every Friday when we get together for our coffee, just tell me. And I'll make sure that, and that I bring that up, or we can raise it as an agenda item on the board at a board meeting or whatever, to ensure that the staff and the volunteers all have the support they need from us. Anybody else have any comment?
I really agree with what Jeff said about having that moment where it was a noticeable change in the atmosphere of the meetings and of the district. And it was about the inclusion of the members and taking that moment. And so I know that the admin, I don't think it's as, that they're in the office, and it's mostly what the chief is able to construct that the way he needs. And as we move into the operations chief and the other positions and the chief positions, we fill those. I'll really be looking for that. I don't want to say slow walk, but I'm not going to be in a hurry to make sure that we get that input that from the district, from the members. So hopefully we can be mindful of that and not add any pressure there.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that it's a good idea to continue to keep open conversation going at our board meetings and also and at other times, right? So I encourage people also to just, if you see me in the grocery store, feel free to come over and ask me a question or talk to me. I'll talk to you. And I think all of our board members feel the same. So
Yep.
okay. All right, so we don't have any reports. What about unfinished or old business? I know I think unfinished business, we do have a bunch of stuff coming up at the next board meeting, including, I think, Chief, the process that you're planning to undertake or thinking about undertaking relative to an operations chief position, correct?
I think we've settled that. Matter of fact, I'm hoping to send out that position announcement probably maybe even today. You approved the job description, and we talked about the process,
Right.
At the last meeting.
I feel like we were still waiting on some more clarification on the process.
I was under the understanding that we voted to let you move forward with making the job description and making the process and coming and presenting it to us.
I really did want to see more of the nuts and bolts of the process that the police department used.
Yeah, I don't think that we I don't think that we approved the hiring of anybody. I think we approved for you to come at us with what the job description, I mean, I know you brought that up, but the actual process you're going to go through and what that all entails was supposed to come back to us.
I have old guy memories, so I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I had a
But I too bad we don't have the minutes from the last meeting to look at.
yeah, I had I think my memory is the same as Hippie's and Ryan's, just about the process part, that you were gonna come back with details about the process, because you had discussed some of it, but you'd talked about just participating in the police department commander hiring process. And I thought we were going to talk about that more and approve a process, but I could be remembering too.
My recollection is that you approved the job description, and I described the process we were going to use. My impression that was my responsibility as the chief to come up with a process and implement that process.
It should be.
And I agree with Chief. I think that he's the one that actually does the hiring for these positions. Our role is to hire a fire chief, an interim chief, and set policies, which is what we're doing. But I think at this point, it's up to the chief to take it from there to the actual hiring process and do the hiring.
If I
I
can
agree
find.
with Scott.
I
do agree.
I agree that it's the chief's job to do the hiring and do the process, but I haven't seen the process yet.
Let me read exactly what was in the staff report and what I described. In the staff report, there were two actions. One was to approve the job description, which you did. The other one was to waive the internal external, which you did. And then the selection process was, if the board takes the above actions, we'll move quickly to conduct internal recruitment and selection. It is my hope to have a permanent appointment made by mid-March. My proposed selection process includes 3 steps. Resume review to determine an applicant's strength of the totality of their experience, training, and experience certifications to perform the essential job functions. Applicants with the strongest combination of desired qualifications will be invited to participate in step 2. Step 2 would be the applicants invited to participate in step 2 would be interviewed by multiple interview panels consisting of administration, leadership, and operations. This is the same interview process used by the Estes Park Police Department and a recent selection process for police commanders. In step 3, applicants completing step 2 will be invited to an interview with the fire chief. And then final appointment and professional development plan, I will appoint the applicant with the strongest performance in steps 2 and 3. If the successful applicant has a weakness in one or more desired qualifications, they will be required to agree to a professional development plan to remedy the weaknesses in an agreed upon time frame. So we did talk about that at the last meeting. I can certainly bring that back to you again on the 23rd of this month, but I haven't done anything other than what I described at the last meeting.
The only concern I have in that process is that if we only get one internal position or one internal applicant, then what? I mean, do we stay with the internal, or who has that final judgment, or do we have a thought process for that? Do we want a minimum number before we look external, or and that's kind of what I was looking for when I was looking at the process.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I feel like if we don't have at least 3 to 5 applicants internally, then it's going to look really bad for everybody involved that we already had somebody in mind. That person filled out the application and they got the job and nobody else got a chance to. I don't know. I like the internal thing as long as we have a number there where we have 3 to 5 applicants. I'd be happy if we had 3 applicants, but 3, like I said, between 3 and 5. But yeah, if we have 1 or 2 applicants, I don't feel like we're doing our duty to the community. I just don't.
I don't think it's a lot different than this admin thing. We, pretty much have said that Miranda is going to get one or the other. There's no,
we didn't say she would get it. We said she had first dibs to choose which one she wanted to try to get, but she still has to go through the process like everybody else.
Yeah, but we didn't say that there had to be a certain amount of applicants. I think if the right person is inside the fire department right now, why not hire that person for that position? What's wrong with that? I know you do that in your business.
Right. And
I did it in my businesses.
Right. And I can agree with that, but we don't know what the circumstances are. Whether, I don't know what the circumstances might be, but not everybody might get the opportunity to fill out. And I do it in my business and you do it in your business, but those are private entities. They're not a public entity where, somebody's going to come back and say, well, if they don't complete the task, which I guess I should back up. I think the person that's doing the task could do the task in the future. And I think there's a lot of people in our fire department that could do the task potentially in the future, or maybe right now, I guess
if they choose to.
But I don't know. I'd hate to have somebody say, "Oh, it's going right back to where it was."
Well, back to the other point that, you know, in the meeting, the chief did point out that he had a lot of pressure, maybe from some of the younger firefighters to go external with this position. And we chose to go internal, but I think we don't want to necessarily just disregard that input. And if we were to balance that with a minimum of people, then I feel like we've acknowledged what they had to say and make sure that we have good choices for that job, or, you know, able to
Or
measure.
go external with, okay. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I'll ask you, Chief, are you getting any negative backsplash on the administrative side of things? I mean, I've heard the same things, that people are like, hey, if you don't get enough applicants, or we think that there's more people out there that should come in. I've heard it from a lot of firefighters as well. And sorry. And I haven't heard it. All I've heard on the administrative side is, you guys need to get Miranda help. That's all I've heard. So,
but we have chosen to do one of those external. We made that decision currently. So, I mean,
right. I'm just saying, for the one that, have you gotten any negative back about us making a spot that Miranda gets to pick which one she gets to go for?
I haven't heard anything one way or the other on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's a topic of discussion out there.
Right.
In my experience, usually administrative positions, as far as within the uniformed workforce, there's really not a lot of.
Yeah, as long as they get their clothing allowance and there's somebody to answer the phone, they're usually pretty good out in the day.
Walking back to, I'd like to go back. It sounds like there seems to be some interest from the board to put a number on the internal recruitment. If the internal recruitment does not generate X number of applicants, that we go internal, external. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, let me ask you something, Chief. What do you think about it?
I think I have been in this situation before, where we've had an internal selection process and only one person applied for the position. And the selection process, we still went through the selection process, but the selection process became focused more on what gaps does that particular individual have in doing the job, and then putting together a professional development plan to do that. I have thought this through a little bit already, that if we ended up with just one applicant, my direction to the interview panels would be: question one, can this person do this job as the way that it's designed? Question one. Question two is, does this person have gaps in their preparation to do it? And what are those? So those would be the two questions that I would ask the interview panels as far as feedback. Because I've been in this situation before. And I'm not sure how many applicants we're going to have. I thought we might have 3 or 4, but I don't know that until how this is. People are very coy about it until you actually put it out and you get to the day when you say the application have to be in.
Put it in writing.
Well, maybe we're I don't know. I'm glad we're having the conversation beforehand. But I think that we do need, I mean, if we only had one applicant, I would think that people would kind of, even 2 applicants, people would be kind of upset if we went with that. But I don't know. And maybe we're beating a dead horse here. Maybe we're going to throw that out there and 5 or 6 people are going to fill out and we don't have nothing to worry about. I think that, I definitely know a couple, 3, 4 people, probably more than that, in our fire department that can do it. So I'd love to see it work out internally. I just think that all eyes are on us right now. And I think if we do it with one applicant, that everybody's going to be like, oh, they rushed into it. They shouldn't have,
How about this as a compromise? I was originally going to send out the job notice and the job and ask for people to have their applications, their material, their package in on the 13th. I could change that and put it out and just say, you got to have it in by the 20th. And then you meet on the 23rd, and I can say we've had 4 applicants, 2 applicants, 1 applicant, whatever it is. I'm a little bit hesitant to say we've got 3 applicants and these are the names.
Yeah, I don't think
You don't
that
want to,
that
I
would
don't
be-
think you want to go down that road.
That's not fair.
No,
But I can say we've had 2 applicants or 4 applicants or 1 applicant.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't want to. I don't want to hear names and tarnish any process that you have or that you're going to do. But yeah, I'd like you to do that. Put it out till the 20th, and then come and say we have, this many applicants, and kind of have a discussion on it from there.
Is that the position of the rest of the board?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I just feel like one, if we only had one person going, I don't think it would breed confidence. I want to make sure that we have, I'm behind what you proposed, yes.
I agree with that as well. It gives us an opportunity also to revisit whether we ought to consider external candidates depending on the number of people that have put their names in.
Okay, hearing that, my plan now will be to get out the job notice, which is all ready to go, the job description, the whole thing. And then tell people that they need to have their package in on the 20th. And then on the 23rd, I will come back. We'll put an agenda item on the agenda that we've had X number, and then you can either say it go forward or no.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. All right, so we'll add that to the agenda for the next board meeting. Any other items of unfinished or old business?
Sandy, we will need to have a pension board. So I'll talk to you about that Friday. We will have 1 applicant for pension.
I'm sorry, I think my computer's about to die, and so I heard about half of what you said. Could you repeat it?
We'll need to have a pension board meeting, so we'll need to talk about whether you want to have that at 4, before 4:30. You got a work session at 3. But we will have 1 applicant for pension.
I think we can do that. The pension board meetings were pretty quick, unless you think the pension board meeting would take a long time. I think we can squeeze it in.
Okay.
Okay.
Were we going to have any more discussion on the temporary position in the wildland side of things for, I believe her name is Alicia, on it as a description, or how long of a temporary position we're going to continue to have on that?
I think that's something that we can have a conversation about on Thursday when we meet.
Okay.
And then,
Perfect.
if there's anything the board needs to decide on, we can, let Sandy know and put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
I
let
like
me know about that. I mean, we authorized the creation of the temporary position so that Alicia she's, like we talked about last board meeting, we have a pretty valuable employee there that we would like to shift into a position where she's able to support and continue to work for us until we decide what the structure of that organization is going to be. I mean, if there's something the board needs to decide in terms of how long that temporary position lasts, that's fine. I think right now, though, the position's already authorized, and the chief and division chief Landcamer have the opportunity already. I think they've probably already done it, haven't you, Chief?
Yeah, John has already got her working on the project. Some of the projects I know they're working on doing some stuff with the home assessments and the data that's involved with that.
I would like to clarify that the position is not temporary so that she can have the other position. The temporary position is because they have somebody that's capable, familiar, and they need the assistance.
That's what I thought I was saying. But if I said something different, then no, that's what I thought I was saying. But right now we haven't decided on positions, any other positions with it. We're still working on that in the restructuring. So, and Ryan, you and Jeff are meeting, as I understand it, with the Division Chief Landcamer and with Chief on the prevention side, and then hopefully you can bring a report over to the, you and Chief together can bring a report over to the other subcommittee that's doing the restructuring, and we can work hand in hand to try to get that work done quickly.
Perfect.
Okay. Did that adequately capture everything, or did I misstate anything? Okay. Any, so we're done with unfinished or old business. How about any new business? Anybody have any new business they want to state? All right, announcements. The only announcement did I cut somebody off? I'm
I
sorry.
feel like I had something earlier, but it slipped. I'm sorry. I got a lot going on around me. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll bring it up at next board meeting, not the new business, if I remember what it is.
Okay. I think, well, we've covered, I'm trying to think if there was any other old unfinished, what could it have been in the category of unfinished or old business?
Maybe. My brain is blank right now. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. I think in terms of, okay, so the things we're doing right now, I think, yeah, okay. All right, so, and now, any other item anybody wants to discuss before I move on to announcements? Okay, announcement is very brief. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, February 23rd. It's going to start at 3 p.m. because we have a whole lot of stuff going on before that meeting. I'm going to be doing a presentation on the Open Meetings Act, and I'm going to be working with Chief on that ahead of time. Chief, we also have something else going on in advance.
Yep.
And what is that?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
The pension meeting.
That we have the pension meeting ahead of time.
Right.
Well, but
Did-
it's something in addition to the Open Meetings Act.
I think that's what that's always what I thought you were going to talk
Oh,
about.
that is all it was. We were considering, but if we hadn't done the bylaws in the last meeting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But we were able to get that work done, so we don't have that happening in advance of the meeting next time. Okay, so we do have plenty of room for a board meeting. I mean, I'm sorry, for a pension board meeting ahead of time. And obviously I'll add to the agenda for the 3 o'clock meeting if there's something that comes up that we need a working session on. I'll identify that in the agenda for the next meeting. I think that's it. Does anybody have any? I see Hippie's hand in the air in his truck.
I wish I would have said this a little earlier, but I see CTs in this meeting. I would like to hear if he agrees with what we were talking about the hiring of those positions. I missed that he was sitting there, but I would like to hear if he agrees with the way that we're trying to conduct this business.
DT, are you there?
Yep, I was just looking for my unmute button. Sorry. I think for me, I totally understand the direction that you're taking because of the optics, with the focus being on us for this whole time through this whole process. So I completely understand the perspective that you guys have on that.
Okay.
Sandy, one other item. You guys have that joint work session with the town board, I think on the 13th.
Yes, and it's by Zoom. And the time of that meeting
8 o'clock.
is 8 o'clock in the morning. Yes, bright and early. And I have not yet received a Zoom link to my
You'll
knowledge.
receive that Friday.
Okay. So I will, hopefully they will just distribute it directly to all the board members because I did give them all of your email addresses. But how about if none of you have, if any of you have not received that Zoom link from Bunny at the town, by the end of the day, by close of business on Friday, please email me and I will forward it to you. Okay?
Okay, and when that's 8 a.m. on the 13th,
Correct.
Friday the 13th. Okay.
I'm glad somebody
So,
else.
you know, I won't be able to make that meeting. 'Cause that's 5 o'clock in the morning here and I'll be on my way leaving to go to the airport. So come
Okay.
back the day I come back. So I can't make that meeting.
Okay. Well, I will take very careful notes and try to send you something that updates you on it. How's that? Okay, anything else? All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Who seconded? Hippie. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.